Well, I'm a hoping so. You ever heard somebody say that? I mean, usually in relation to maybe to God or prayer, or maybe just in life. Well, I'm a hoping so. I'm a hoping that it can happen. Well, let me tell you something. If you're talking about God, that's not the exchange. That's not the medium of exchange that you have with God. It isn't, well, man, I'm a hoping so. If you're just a hoping so, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just hoping. Now look, stay with me here. It's very important to have hope, but that kind of attitude that, well, I'm a hoping so, is not going to get you anywhere. Faith will get you somewhere. Yes. Remember the widow with the issue of blood in the Bible in Mark chapter 5? You know, she's been bleeding for years and years and years. How long was it? 12 years, I believe it was. She'd been bleeding for 12 years and hadn't gotten any better. She spent all of her money on doctors and hadn't gotten any better. Well, she's obviously been hoping, but nothing's been happening. And so, but one day she heard Jesus was coming into town, and she said, if I can touch the hem of his garment, I'll be made whole. I'll be healed just like that. And that's what she did. She touched him. Power went out of him, and he was shocked. He said, somebody touched me with faith. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people around him that day, but only one of them got their healing. You know, this is very important that we understand the difference in hope and faith. When I first was entering into the ministry, I went and pastored a church in Hillsboro, Texas. It was the first church that I pastored, and as I went there on supply, the very first Sunday I was there, I ministered that morning and preached. I didn't know they were going to ask me to preach that night, so they asked me to preach, and so I came back that night and I ministered on the baptism of the Holy Spirit, and I just taught them how the Holy Spirit had already been given and how they could receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit and start speaking in tongues by just believing that it was done, that Jesus had done it, and that his power would come on them. And, you know, I preached on that. I didn't know, but in that audience, there were two men. It wasn't a big audience, maybe 30 people maximum. There's two men there. One of them had been seeking the baptism of the Holy Spirit for 8 years. Well, that's nothing. The other guy had been seeking the Holy Spirit for 11 years. They've been wanting to be baptized in the Spirit, receive his power, speak in tongues. And I realized after talking to them, they'd been hoping but not receiving. They'd been hoping but not having faith. And when I preached that God had done it, the Holy Spirit was here, it's done, just receive, you know what happened? They received the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues. God baptized them in his power, and you can have it too. See you tomorrow.